I'm a simple man. I see big robot. I get happy. Daemon X Machina had big robots. Daemon X Machina Titanic Scion has small robots. But you know what? Small robots make me happy too. Titanic Scion is the follow-up to the original Daemon X Machina. It's a game about piloting giant mechs called arsenals, fighting enemies called the Immortals, collecting gear, and customizing your mech to your heart's content. And for the most part, the rules still apply here in Daemon X Machina Titanic Scion. The game structure is a little bit like Monster Hunter. You'll queue up with friends to go on missions. In the original game, these were confined to small arenas where you had goals such as defeat X number of enemies or beat the boss within the time limit, things of that nature. In Daemon X Machina Titanic Scion, you'll still group up with friends and take on missions, but rather than these small confined areas, you have access to big, vast, open zones. These areas are full of treasure, boss fights, fast travel points, characters and side quests. There's a lot to do here. And the online connectivity is really easy to set up. One friend starts a room, everybody else joins, and then you start playing. You can play the main story missions together, you can do sub-quests together. There's really few limits when it comes to what you can do with friends online. Monster Hunter is one of my favorite series because it's a great hangout game, and Daemon X Machina Titanic Scion continues that trend of a great hangout game. Plus, who doesn't want to show off their cool mechs to their friends? You can customize them a whole lot. You can change their left and right weapons, their shoulder weapon, an auxiliary piece of gear that might give you a passive ability or the ability to throw grenades. Each piece of your arsenal's armor is also customizable. Your helmet, your chest, your arms individually, your legs. These all adjust your stats in various ways. They might increase your VP, which is your overall shield health. They might make you faster on the ground. They might make you better at brawling. They might give you more shooting accuracy. The level of depth on offer here is insane. You can really build your arsenal however you want. If you don't like the way a piece of gear looks, then just use another piece of gear instead. You can layer these pieces of gear on top of one another so you're not forced to wear any piece of armor that you don't like the look of. You can change the color of your armor too. You can make your arsenal look like an Ava Unit 1 if you want, which is what I did. And if you want to add a little flourish, you can even use and edit decals to put on your mechs. I wasn't able to put GVG all on the same part of the body like I wanted to until I realized I could take decals and then make my own using them. So I went into the editor, made GVG, slapped it on my mech, and now I'm representing. Obtaining new gear is a little similar to the way it works in Monster Hunter. You're going to gain new equipment by going out and fighting. But unlike Monster Hunter, you'll often be looting weapons and armor right off of other enemy arsenals. Right in the midst of battle, you could fight an enemy that has a weapon that you want, destroy them, take that weapon off of their body, and now use it yourself. When you go to loot an enemy, you're given a list of things that you can take from them. It could be weapons, it could be armor, currency, items, but you can only take one. And unlike the original game, even if your gear slots are all filled, you can choose to take a piece and equip it anyway. You get access to all the stats right away, and you can easily compare to see which piece of gear is better for you in the moment. And maybe you like a piece of gear but you don't want it right now? Well, you can send it back to the hangar to use later. The game even tracks completion percentages on all of the equipment available in the game. So even if you find a piece of armor or a weapon that's not as strong as what you're currently using, you can send it back to the hangar and add to your collection. The game even displays your weapon collection for you. All of these racks will eventually be full of all of the weapons available in Daemon X Machina Titanic Scion. And for people like me who like to show off their stuff, that's great. And just like its predecessor, this base is where you'll be doing a bunch of your customization, everything you need to do to prepare to go out and fight. There's an ice cream shop you can go to get various field effects that might make you stronger or faster, again, similar to Monster Hunter. There's a shop to buy items, there's another shop where you can develop your own items based on enemies that you fought. There's a Coliseum where you can go one-on-one with various other NPC arsenals and climb the ranks. But probably the most important part of your base of operations is the laboratory. When you fight Immortals, rather than picking up gear off of their bodies, you'll pick up factors. These are their genes, their literal genetic data. You can fuse this genetic data with your body in order to gain various types of skills. These can be attack skills that you can add onto your weapon classes. They can be passive skills that increase your stats in different ways. All of this customization is on you, the person, or the outer, as they're called in the game. This is the really deep part of the game's customization, and I'm sure players will be spending hours min-maxing their builds, quite literally their player builds. A cool quirk of this mechanic is that once you've fused, your body will mutate in various ways. These will be permanent fixtures on your character's person. I'm talking scars, weird growths. It sounds gross, but it's cool. And just because this game's all about customization, you can even change the color of these scars and the glowy bits on them. If you want your glowy bits to be green, great, go for it. I love the freedom on offer here. This is a game for the player. Combat is quite a departure from the original game. The original game was very fast-paced, it was kind of loose, there was no traditional lock-on system, you kind of had to aim freely in order to deal damage. This game is a lot slower paced, more intentional, more melee combat focused. You'll be balancing your femto to use speed boosts and other abilities on your machine and your stamina in order to dodge enemy attacks. In the original game, your stamina basically did it all. Here, you'll be locking onto enemies, strafing around them, attacking slowly and deliberately. Combat can still feel fast, but everything you do feels more deliberate. While it being this different might be a turnoff for some players, I actually think I prefer the combat in this game over the original. That said, it's not perfect. Specifically, the camera. The camera can be a real problem in Daemon X Machina. One of the early attacks you'll gain from fusion is the helm splitter. Your character will fly up in the air with their weapon and bring it crashing down on an enemy's head. As you descend, the camera will point down towards the ground. The problem is that after you land, the camera doesn't correct itself. It stays facing downward, so you have to manually lift the camera back up in order to see what you're doing. I really don't like this. Also, because fights can take place in 360 degrees, sometimes you'll be looking straight up in the air at an enemy and fighting from underneath them. It can get a little awkward, and the camera doesn't always know exactly what it should be doing. So sometimes it feels like you're fighting an enemy, and other times it feels like you're fighting the game. Though, for the most part, I think the combat is good. And probably my biggest qualm is that there's seemingly no gyro controls. There are weapons like the bow or the sniper rifle where I really would rather be using the gyro than the sticks. The sticks were a little difficult for me to use for weapons like the bow, especially on Nintendo Switch 2. I can't say it felt as difficult for me on PlayStation 5, and I'm not entirely sure why that is. Regardless, I hope gyro controls get added in a future update. The game desperately needs it. Visually, the game looks pretty nice, though I'd be lying if I said I didn't prefer the way the original game looked. Colors were more contrasty, brighter, stark. There was less visual detail in every object, but it made for a really cool stylized look. That said, the music still goes incredibly hard. Unfortunately, if you're playing this game on Nintendo Switch 2, I think you're gonna have a rough time. The game targets 30 frames per second, and unfortunately, it just doesn't very often hit that. There will be encounters where you have tons of enemies flying all around you, and the game just seemingly can't handle it on Switch 2. There's even a moment here where I was in a cave fighting a boss, and the frame rate was just going all over the place. Another moment where I'm flying through the air and nothing is happening. The freedom of flying is amazing, by the way, but I shouldn't be marred by all of these FPS drops in the middle of that experience. It's such a shame. There's a great game in here, but it's just struggling to work on Nintendo Switch 2. I'd really encourage you to try the demo available on the eShop to see if these performance issues are going to be a problem for you or not. And if they're not, you can actually take that save data from the demo and bring it over into the main game so you can continue from where you left off. I love when demos do that, and I'm super glad it's available here. I think Daemon X Machina Titanic Scion is a great game. If you're looking for a new co-op multiplayer game, Titanic Scion is a great option. Just maybe buy it on a different platform. Regardless of what platform you play it on, though, it does support crossplay, so thank God. Daemon X Machina Titanic Scion is a pretty big evolution over the original game. While it does change some fundamental things about the gameplay, I think it's for the better. Playing a game like this with friends is always a great joy. Daemon X Machina makes you feel like a god when you're flying around in your arsenal. For all you power fantasy sickos, I think you're going to have a great time with Daemon X Machina Titanic Scion. And because of that, GVG awards the game an 8 out of 10. Just maybe play it on a different platform. Thanks so much for watching. For more Nintendo Switch 2 news, reviews, and everything in between, stay subscribed to GVG. We have a lot more on the way. But until then, keep the games good and the vibes greater. Bye now.
Oh no! Take this! No way out! We've got this!